much. My name is Sarah Steadfast, and I am the venture president of Newtown Mortgage, which is the joint venture between Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Town Realty, and Town Bank Mortgage. And for you Rosenwomble agents, I do what Tim Good does. And in the new venture, he and I will be sharing that role. And Linda, how about go ahead and introduce yourself?
I'm Linda Painter, president of Virginia Home Title. And then we will also be joining Advanced Title, so we'll all be a team there also.
Very good. And this morning, what we like to do on these blitzes is just have a quick call just to give you something of information. I know we've got some Berkshire Hathaway agents and some Rosenwomble agents on here, so welcome to everybody. And we thought we would talk about e-hybrid closings. And we've heard a lot about this RON, remote online notary, where you don't have to go to closing at all, that a borrower can just click, 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 and not show up at a settlement agent's office. So we have started to kind of ease into that process by doing what we call e-hybrid closings. And these are acceptable. I know in the middle of COVID, nobody wanted to go to an attorney's office, and we were scrambling to try and get the remote online notary done, and things take time. So we're doing this in easy steps. So hybrid e-closings or e-hybrid closings, it's basically a combination of a closing plus an electronic data closing. So we have what we call Simple Nexus as our background, and that just basically helps us get the electronic signatures out there or the electronic documents out there. Why do it? Well, let's see. We're going to talk about why we do it, e-sign versus wet sign, the loan officer process and responsibilities, the borrower experience, and then we'll have questions and answers. So why would you want to use e-hybrid closing? Well, here we go. Effective with closings on or after June 27th of last year, our borrowers have the ability to close via a hybrid e-closing structure. And what that does is it shortens the closing process, and it allows for a significant number of documents to be signed electronically. And it gives them the ability to actually review these documents before they get to the closing table. This will not eliminate the process for the security instrument or documents that require a notary to be completed in person with the settlement agent and the borrower. So as of this point, they do have a lot of documents that they can sign over online, but they still have to go to the settlement agent to sign the security instruments for the mortgage. All right, so the benefits, it's a single sign-on experience for all e-signature compatible documents, and it completes the closing process quicker with access to the e-signed documents. For our operations team, it reduces closing errors, and adjustments to closing documents goes much faster when the changes can be made. So not everybody's sitting at the closing waiting for the document to be changed, have it sent over, have somebody have to re-sign it. So that's a good thing. Linda, what do you have as far as benefits for the e-closing?
Usually our documents, again, are less, depending on what company it is that we're dealing with. It's what documents we have to have signed, and we always have to make sure at the closing table that we have talked to the client, and yes, they have e-signed all of their documents before we can execute the deed of trust and the note at the closing table. So they do have to do that ahead of time before they come into closing, or at least the same day, but it's much better if they do it ahead of time. And we are experiencing the RON notary people. We've got to be careful about which ones we use, because the title companies have a specific list, depending on what title company we're using, on what RON person that we can have for the notary section. They have to be approved under some of the platforms, so we want to make sure. And so I will get over with you too also, Sarah, to find out what platforms you're doing under your hybrid, as well as other mortgage companies, because they have to be done by a specific platform notary that the mortgage company accepts and the title company accepts.
And that's when we get to the full remote online notary, or RON.
That is correct, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, the documents that still require a wet signature are the deed of trust and all applicable riders, the note and all applicable addendums, a construction loan agreement if it's a construction loan, initial account escrow disclosure statement, first payment letter, final closing disclosure, signature and name affidavit, request for taxpayer ID, blah, 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 IVES, request for transcript, notice of right to cancel, limited power of attorney doc. So there's still documents that have to be signed at closing. And how many pages is the deed of trust and the note these days, Linda?
An average of 20 pages, anywhere from 18 to 25, but I would say 20 is the average. And there is one lender who is having the note done by e-sign now, which makes me really nervous. And some of them are still having them do the loan application.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Well, and we do our loan applications all by e-signature. So that really has saved so much time having those online. All
And
right,
a veteran can sign that application by e-sign?
Yeah, they can, as long as they have signed or that's if we've got a power of attorney, they have to have signed either the contract or the loan application has to have a wet signature on it if they are doing it by a power of attorney. But if they're just doing e-signature, they're not doing by a power of attorney, then we don't need a wet signature.
Okay.
All right, so basically what happens is our closer creates the closing package and we send it to the settlement agent for review and release to the borrower. The borrower reviews and signs the applicable document, and the borrower can review prior to the closing date, but they cannot actually click the signature box until the date of closing. And in addition, all documents are available. However, they're only able to e-sign those ones that are okay to e-sign. So the ones we just had on the previous page, those are the ones that we can't, that we have to have wet signed. So then the settlement agent prints the wet signed documents along with an unsigned e-signed documents for closing. And then once the loan has, all those documents have been signed, the settlement agent uploads the wet signed documents through our Simple Nexus app. I know it sounds complicated, but really it's making the process a whole lot simpler. All right, as far as the borrower is concerned, they will receive emails from us letting us know that the package is ready for them to review, and then they'll be told that they can review it, but they can't sign it till the day of closing. And by 3 a.m. on the day of closing, they're going to receive an email that says, okay, you can sign it today. So it gets that taken care of. It's very easy to follow, assuming the borrower is tech savvy. We of course still can have the option of doing everything as a wet signature and do a manual closing. That's not an issue, but we are trying to get us all used to doing it this way so that we are ready for the remote online notary. And then it's basically just like the documents that one sees, when we click, 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 and I agree. It's really very easy to do that. Okay, and then we have what we call the task experience, so they can tell what they've done and what they haven't done. And then we are getting notification that they have received the information. Linda, I believe you are too, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
So that's great. All right, so the issues that we have seen are that we do have some settlement agents, a lot of attorneys are not wanting to do this because they don't like to issue the package. So we are going around to each attorney's office, speaking with them and helping to get their buy-in. It really is ironic that, as I said, in the middle of COVID, they were all looking for us to do these remote online notaries, and now they're not so interested in doing these e-hybrid closings. But we've got Virginia Home Title and Advanced Title who are very active and willing and able to do these. And we're just looking to move forward with the e-hybrid closings. Linda, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, they do. It does make it a lot easier. Some of the companies, the loan company doesn't have to. I mean, the closing does not have to be done by us to send the package, but we still, no matter what, have to make sure that buyer has signed everything. So as soon as we go in and we know that it's a hybrid, new town, and I'm sure Advance's lender's instructions right away tell us if it's a traditional closing or a hybrid closing right on our instructions as we first receive them. So we know what to expect as we move forward to get ready to go to closing, whether we're going to be watching out for that hybrid or we're going to have a traditional closing, knowing that all the documentation is going to be coming to us. So it's on your instructions very clear which kind of closing we're going to have. So that makes it a lot easier.
Great, great. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, super. I will be teaching Financing 101 for 2 credit hours on April the 26th in the afternoon. And so please look for notifications for that. And it's a 2-hour class. And Tim, I don't think we have anything else. Linda, are you going to roll into your estate? Or
I already did that.
Oh, you did that. Okay.
I've already done that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, super, super. All right. Well, I'm not sure who's next. Tim, is there anything we need to do? Are there any questions? Something tells me he just kind of fell off.
Mhm.
Haley, do you see any questions?
You know, one thing I would like to mention, Sarah, is that when we do know that it's going to be a hybrid, I try to let the agents know also so that they'll be aware that their buyers are going to be receiving that package. And I'm hoping that the loan officers do the same thing. And so that expedites us getting those documents signed before we get to that closing table. Because if we're sitting there and they haven't signed them yet, we have to wait till they execute those so we can make sure we can complete the settlement. Because I don't want them walking out of that room and then all of a sudden they didn't sign and then we have to re-close that closing, because that has happened. So a lot of times I try to let the sales agent know that we are doing a hybrid and that we need to make sure their clients are looking into their documents to make sure they know they're going to be receiving those.
Okay, great.
Because it does help, because we've had to reclose a couple loans because that didn't happen.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Well, thank you very much.